Welcome to the Brain Soul Success Show, where we learn, explore, and create your powerful, positive healing for life. I'm your host, Louise Schwartzwalter. I'm the creator of a 5-part mind, body, soul methodology that clears the subconscious blocks to success. From engaging transformational interviews, brain soul success stories, and the secrets shared by brain and spiritual experts, you will reconnect, revitalize, and transform your powerful life. It's time for you. Well, welcome everybody. Dr. Louise here with the Brain Soul Success Show. And this is where we learn, explore, and create your powerful, positive healing for life. And I'm here with my amazing guest, Emerald Green Forest. And Emerald is the Wealthy Life Mentor. So she's been doing work in you're a lead visionary. I mean, I know you're the creator of your consulting group, the Age Consulting Group. And so I love your creativity and what you bring to the table and in the world, Emerald. And we should talk a bit. We've had a chance to work together, so I know a little bit about your stance, your work, and mine. And you just sold a podcast too recently.
I did.
Yes.
I did, Louise. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so awesome. So yeah, the Men on Purpose podcast, you just sold that. And then you're also the creator of it's ranked pretty high, right? Tell us about your Wickedly Women podcast.
Yeah, Wickedly Smart Women. Yeah. So the Wickedly Smart Women podcast is actually #1 in New Zealand. So it's an international #1 ranked podcast.
Awesome.
And in the US, it's ranked number 75 in entrepreneurship. And I actually launched that. It was the sister show to the Men on Purpose podcast. I launched Men on Purpose in January of 2018. And then I launched Wickedly Smart Women in September of 2019. And we are now downloading for Wickedly Smart Women in 37 countries. And so, yes, I did recently sell Men on Purpose. In fact, as we're doing this right now, Louise, I'm in the middle of the transfer of assets from myself to the new owner. And this is literally as our transition week. So it's been pretty exciting. And now after I'm done with this, I'll be able to double down my focus on Wickedly Smart Women so that we can grow it the same way I grew Men on Purpose.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations on that. Yes. And I hope that transaction goes super well for you.
Yeah, so far so good. It's been really very easy process and very fun, and I'm really enjoying turning it over to the new guy who's going to grow this show and turn it into a movement, the Men on Purpose movement. So it's really good.
Great. Yeah. Oh, great. Well, as the Wealthy Life Mentor, you created quite a business here for yourself. What brought you to that? Tell us a little bit about your story, your background.
Yeah, so I have had a very varied background, very interesting career. I started out my first kind of main career, I was in real estate, and I was in the real estate industry for almost 20 years. And at the end of that, I was the national chairperson for my trade association. I was building with 2 partners, 51 single family houses, 56 apartments, and an office building. And then I had a spiritual awakening and left real estate. And after I left real estate for a few years, I just pursued my spiritual path. And then I opened up my own art gallery and healing art center, ran that for a couple of years. And then I got clear that needed to be evolved out of, and I needed to start speaking on a global level. And so I, in 2008, started speaking on a global level, and gratefully, the technology angels had made it such that we could virtually speak by then, because I had this huge calling to speak, Louise, and to serve people all over the world. And I was also a single mom, and I had a little guy, and there was no way I was going to leave my little guy to go on the road 265 days out of the year. So I ended up starting my business as a virtual speaker in 2008. and went through a number of years of success. I made almost $2 million from home in my PJs as a single mom, speaking all over the world, been heard by millions of people. And then in 2017, I had a rupture in my life. And it was a very traumatic experience. Happened literally 4 years ago this past weekend. And everything fell apart that I had built at that point. And I, kind of spiraled down deep into the dark for about a year. And then in 2017, I started to, have the resurgence of energy and the rebirthing of who I was and how I was here to be. And that's where the Creative Age Consulting Group was born, and where the Wealthy Life Mentor has kind of emerged out of that. It became clear to me that even though I was living my destiny as a global speaker, there was a lot of imbalance in my life. And another piece that didn't reveal itself to me until 2018, after I launched the Men on Purpose podcast, was I actually had an underlying health condition that I didn't even know about, which you and I have worked on and talked about as well. So yeah, so that's how the Wealthy Life Mentor got born. And the Wealthy Life, to me, Louise, is more than just money.
Mm-hmm.
It is the sum total of all the resources that we have available to us. And I use the word thief to talk about what those resources are. So if you're interested, we can talk more about that.
Yeah, I would like to hear that. So tell me about, when you say thief, because I actually use that word too when I'm doing clearings with people, and believe, so much that the power of the spoken word of the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
And I know that, even the challenges that you've had in your life, they were thieves in a sense. They stole your wealth. They stole where you were at. So I know you said 5 ways we ward off wealth.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you mean by thief?
So the 5 ways we ward off wealth, we won't go into that until we talk about how I define wealth. And so the thief it's interesting. It's kind of paradoxical. I define wealth using the word thief.
Okay.
Because a wealthy life actually protects us. We are protected from stealing from ourselves in these 5 areas. And in these 5 areas is where we steal from ourselves. We are acting as the thief ourselves, and it actually prevents us from having a healthy, wealthy life. So the 5 areas that make up for me a wealthy life are time, health, our intuitive connection, our intellect, our intuition, our imagination, that's the I, our energy exchange, which is the money piece of it. So the money piece is like 20% of a wealthy life. It's not all of it, it's 20%. And then the F is fun with our friends, family, and fellow travelers on the journey. So we steal from ourselves in each of these areas. And as a result, we end up not being able to create a wealthy life by design. And so that's kind of like the baseline. We have to look at those 5 areas of resources first, and then we can then look at the 5 ways that we ward off wealth in each of those areas.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so I see your system now in a sense, right? Thief. Yeah, very good. So what's been the biggest challenge then that you see people faced when they're called to serve, their purpose in the world? What is that challenge, or what do you see as a theme?
Yeah, well, one of the main themes and one of the 5 ways that we ward off wealth is worry. Worry is one of the 5 ways that we ward off wealth. And so when we are worrying, whether we're worried about having enough time, or we're worried about our health, or we're worried about whether we're smart enough, or whether we're tuned in enough, or whether we have a creative imagination that's enough, all the worry that we generate around money and around our family and our friends and our fellow travelers on the journey, when we apply worry to all of those areas, then we are actually warding off wealth. I see it. I'm a seer. And so when I see worry, what I see is like a dark gray, musty old army blanket that's wrapped around whatever the object of our worry is. And it smells and it's repellent to a wealthy life. So worry is like number one. When people start worrying, then they are going to be having a challenge in one or more of those areas.
And so how do you then work with that worry with your clients? How do you help them not hold on to that pattern or release that musty army blanket?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, a lot of times that musty army blanket, Louise, has been applied generationally. So I work with them through lineage clearings and ancestral clearings. I work with them to help them to unwind any patterns that were imprinted by usually their mother worry. We actually elevate and celebrate mother worry in our culture. Like, if you're not a worried mother, there must be something wrong with you. But the truth is, if you're worrying, let's say, about your child, imagine that what you're doing with that worry is you're literally wrapping your child in this musty, dark, gray, old, smelly army blanket. So how I help them is doing a lot of ancestral clearing, as well as soul retrieval work, as well as creation work. Part of being a wealthy life, having a wealthy life by design, is looking at what's not working. Like, how's that working for you? How is that worry working for you? It's really not, if you look at it clearly. And so I really help people to I create a space for them within which they can, using my wealthy life method, they can identify how they are warding off wealth. And then they can start to apply some of the steps of my system to be able to change that, to create a conscious change in their life. And so there's modalities that we can talk about, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's the system, the wealthy life method, that is a step-by-step system that helps them. And I bring all the tools that are in my toolbox. Some people need to do ancestral clearing. Some people need to have me do sounding. Some people just need to imagine it out, right? So, yeah, really it's going through this structure of the wealthy life method, where we start by identifying what's not working and then look at what do you want instead, and then engage in the conscious process of dismantling everything that doesn't work anymore, so they can walk away from worry and start to welcome wealth.
I love it. I love it. No, we're definitely aligned, in lots of ways, because I love to do those ancestral clearings too. And I know that you have a powerful way of working with people with that. So tell us about some of the people you work with and their stories and what's happened for them when you applied some of that wealthy life system in their life and released that worry.
Well, it's very interesting. I've been working with people for a number of years, and it was through the work that I did that I was able to start to crystallize, oh, this is what I'm doing. This is the system that's working. So I'll give you an example. There was a woman that I worked with a few years ago who, when she came to work with me, she had given up her voice. She had succumbed literally to the role of the worried mother. And she was a powerful singer, and she hadn't sung for 12 years because she had 3 children. And she was so conditioned and so enmeshed, I guess is the word, in the role of worried mother, right?
Right.
That she literally gave up her own voice. She gave up her singing. She gave up her music. She gave up her own voice to be able to stand in that role of worried mother. And when we met, the work with her was to help her retrieve her voice, to get her voice back. And after we did our work together, we went through a process together. And after we did our work together, she was able to not only reclaim her voice, but she began to, she put together a band that became a brand new, top new band in New England. She wrote an amazing amount of songs, recorded an album, and has been out. Well, now in COVID, nobody's out entertaining and doing events, but she and her band called Bliss were able to, just bring so much joy to her own life, as well as to the lives of the other people who were in the band, as well as to the lives of the people who were listening. And she became a better mom in the process.
Sure.
Because she showed her children that you can have a good relationship with each other and you can still be a mom who has her own life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful story. I love that. Her band Bliss and what she had created. So tell us, we started to talk a little about those 5 ways that we ward off wealth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, share some of either those stories or the ways that happens. Why
Sure.
it sounds like worry is one of them.
Yeah. So worry is the first one, and we've already had that. We've already talked about what that looks like.
Right.
The second way that we ward off wealth is by whining. Now, what whining looks like is often, and if you're a female, it's often with wine, right?
Okay.
What whining looks like is getting together with all your gal pals.
Uh-huh.
All of you have a glass of wine and everybody starts whining. And
Yes.
when everyone is whining, if you're whining, number one, you are using the power of your word to create more of what you don't want, because you keep putting it out there every time you whine. Number two, because you have now brought together a group who are with you, they are also energizing the whatever it is that you're whining about. They're energizing that with their power, their life force, their energy, just merely by being audience members and commiserating and colluding with your story. And number three, because you're drinking wine, generally speaking, that's going to lower your level of consciousness, at least a little bit, maybe a lot. So now you have lost consciousness. And all of these things are repellent to wealth. Makes
sense. Totally makes sense. Energy goes where, energy flows. So stay in that positive vibration.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So you want to, when you're gathering together with others, you want to actually celebrate. You want to celebrate. And that's not to say that there aren't times where you need to actually express if you are being in a challenged space. But if you are in a challenged space and you need to express, do so with a good mentor. Do so in a safe space, in a sacred space, whether it's a therapist or a mentor or a coach or a mastermind group where there is clear agreement that this is a place where we can show our panties, but we're showing our panties for the purpose of making a transformation, not for the purpose of more commiseration.
Exactly. Makes total sense. Yeah. I know that our audience would definitely relate to that, because we do that kind of clearing.
Yeah.
We have to talk about the stuff, but when you're talking about that stuff in that safe place, the whole purpose is transformation.
Exactly.
It's very different than whining.
Correct.
What you're saying. So that's the second way that we ward off wealth. What's the third way?
So the third way that we ward off wealth is by waffling. So what waffling looks like, waffling is essentially indecision, not being able to decide. So I'll use an example from the days where we used to go out to events. So imagine yourself at an event. You're at this event and the mentor offers a $10,000 offer to mentor you to be able to help you to grow your business to the whole next level. And you've been called and you're there and you're at that event and you're kind of like, oh my God, I think this is exactly the thing that I need. And then you go off to the ladies' room or the men's room and you get a text from your best buddy. And your best buddy says, oh my God, that cruise that we've wanted to do for 3 months around the Mediterranean, it's on sale right now for $10,000. And now you're in waffling. Now, do I invest in my entrepreneurship or do I invest in the cruise ship? Do I invest in my entrepreneurship or do I invest in my cruise ship? And you get stuck in this, I can't decide which one is the right direction for me to go. And then both ships sail and you're, left standing on the shore. And, that's going to be repellent to wealth. You got to be decisive. You got to be able to
Decisive.
make a decision, right? So that's
Right.
waffling.
Okay. Like it. Like it. Makes sense. Been there. People been there. I'm
Yeah.
sure people can relate to that. Absolutely. So that's the third way we ward off wealth. What's the fourth way?
Waiting on. Now, there's a difference
Okay.
between waiting, which is being patient and cultivating patience
Mm-hmm.
while things ripen, and waiting on. And waiting on comes in two forms. You could be waiting on other people, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's the handsome prince to come rescue you, or the mentor to come rescue you, or whatever, the clients to suddenly appear out of nowhere because, it's time and you haven't done anything, but you're just waiting on those people to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting on can show up that way, where you're just like sitting in your ivory tower, just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And literally it sucks the life right out of you.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of waiting on others is becoming Cinderella, essentially waiting on your son or your daughter or your husband, like you're the servant in the relationship, and your whole life and all your energy is spent on taking caretaking other people at the expense of your own dream and your own purpose and your own destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
So waiting on is another example I could use for my friend and client who did the work with me and started the band Bliss. She was waiting on her kids to be old enough.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So that
It's
was
waiting.
another way. The big thing was the worry, but she
Mm-hmm.
was also waiting on. She was waiting on, that's a story. I'm waiting on my kids to be old enough, right?
Right.
For me
Right.
to be
And
able to go back and do this.
so many people buy that story though.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do. And you're absolutely right. When you shine, your kids are going to shine.
Exactly.
So I learned that one too. I had to take care of myself, and do my thing in the world. And it was a great model.
Absolutely.
It was a great model for my family and my kids.
Absolutely.
And they're awesome today, now that they're, older, so it was the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
It was the
Absolutely.
right
Do you really want to train your kids to be worried or waiting on or waffling or whining? Do you want to train your kids to do that?
No,
of course you don't.
not. That's a good one though. When you say, waiting on right now, here we are kind of doing this in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So people are locked down, they're at home, there's all kinds of rules, different things going on in different states for sure, different countries. We all have some restriction. So how do you work with people now in terms of, like, if they are feeling stuck and they have to wait, or they're feeling like they have to wait? I think there's definitely a stance that entrepreneurs need to take right now. I'm kind of saying you either thrive or you dive. So we have an opportunity here to totally up level what you are doing in your business and your life. But not everyone is seeing it that way. So how do you work with people who are in that waiting on right now?
Well, what I think is truer than anything, Louise, is that we're all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that COVID is a global invitation to examine what is working and what's not working in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go back to the Wealthy Life Method. We start with step one, what's not working, right?
Mm-hmm.
So COVID is an opportunity. And I can tell you that there are probably some people who have been going like crazy, but they've been going in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So going like crazy in the wrong direction, this is an actual opportunity for them to stop the world,
Mm-hmm.
to slow down, to wait on what the correct alignment is and the correct calling is,
Mm-hmm.
right? So for some who are listening, it's about refining and getting clear on what's essential. What is essential? And then when you get that clarity, to immediately take action. It's not about, waiting for permission from somebody else to take action. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there is value for some people who may have gone, like I had a life rupture in 2016. Mm-hmm. And if I had kept going the way I was going to die. Right?
Mm-hmm.
In more ways than one. In fact, I did die. There was a part of me that did die in 2016. May she rest in peace. right? In order for the
Right.
new being to be born. And I would agree with you that this is also a very ripe time to thrive, to really double down on what it is that you are called to do, and not take and just check out like you're on vacation, right? It's not a check out, you're on vacation time. It's
Right.
it's not. It's a very interesting, powerful time, and I prefer to not frame it that we're waiting on anything at this point. What we are doing is we are being patient and energizing our unique process, right? So
Yeah.
for some, it's time for you to get a mentor. You know, if you've been waiting on your business to actually function and it's not functioning and it hasn't been functioning, well, that's not working. Well, that's something that's not working. It's time for you to get a mentor and get off the waffling and waiting on it to finally work, because that's,
Exactly.
you know, you're being shown that, right?
Right. So it's paying attention. It's paying attention to the signs that are showing up, you know,
Exactly.
following your intuition.
Exactly.
Following your intuition. And if you need to take a right turn, take a right turn.
Exactly. And I don't think there's a blanket solution for everyone. I think that each person is being given the opportunity right now to deepen in their own knowing of exactly, specifically, and precisely what it is that they are here to do. And, you know, in some areas of my business, I'm doubling down. You know, I'm speaking a lot more. I just sold my podcast. I just launched a new book. Right. And in other areas of my business, I'm like, I'm just not going to energize that thing anymore because it's not working anymore. Right. I'm not going to energize tolerating a team member that's not living up to what I need that person to live up to. Right. So there's so many different areas where, you know, part of it I can use to really take off. And another part I can use to just slow down and say, what do I really need in this area? And then craft it carefully, consciously craft it, right?
Sounds like you use a lot of energy work in your own business, you know? So I'm hearing you kind of say, you know, I consciously craft this. I'm holding intention for this, you know, I'm not giving any energy to this.
Exactly.
You know, how do you teach your clients to be in that alignment?
Well, you know, your business is its own entity, right? It's its own energetic structure. It has its own energetic structure. So I actually have something that I used for years that I help people to visualize the energetic structure of their business and begin to discern where they are needing to make conscious change to be able to be in greater right relationship with their business. So I actually have them set up something that I call the pillars of entrepreneurship. And it spells the word SCORE. And you want to get the "or" in the core of the score, right? You're writing your own score here, right? So the 5 pillars of entrepreneurship, which spells the word SCORE, are strategy.
Okay.
Communication.
Okay.
Organization, which includes, you know, your calendar, your team, how your structure is of your business model. Resource management, which is your revenue generation and all of your other resources, your time, health, energy, you know, intellect, fun. That's the wealth pillar. And then the 5th pillar is execution, right? So these are the 5 pillars of entrepreneurship. If you have all 5 of these pillars functional, then you have a functional entrepreneurship that can thrive.
Yeah. Awesome. I like how you put that. Yep.
And so what I do with my clients is I help them to now take the 5 pillars of entrepreneurship and then see the energetic structure that is their business, and be able to look into that structure and say, oh, you know what? My organization pillar is like a little stump, right? But my communication pillar is like a mighty oak tree, right? So now they can see, oh yeah, I got to work on that. I got to work on that.
Yes. You know, and even without the acronym, I mean, I was just looking at my I'm in the office today, and so my accountant, I have a file for my accountant, and I was like, and she's not coming in until like 2 weeks from now. right? So I was like, oh gosh, you know what? These bills aren't paid yet. And hey, this isn't filed right. And hey, I had this organization set up. What happened to my system?
Yeah.
You know, what happened to my system? So I started to notice that that was a little off and wasn't super happy about that. But, you know, as any entrepreneur, there's going to be different things you're going to work on at different times. It's kind of like the spokes in the wheel.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You know, that you're going to be focused on different things at different times. So you talked about those 5 ways we ward off wealth. There's a couple more though.
Yeah, there's one left.
Yes.
So we did worry, we did
yes.
waffling, we did waiting on others, we did whining. The final one is withdrawal.
Withdrawal. Okay.
Yeah. And this is when we pull our energy back, right? So let's say you're looking at your 5 pillars of entrepreneurship and you're like, oh shit, I'm such a mess in the money department. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to withdraw. I'm going to pull back. I'm not going to look at that. I'm going to go into denial. I'm going to just maybe that'll go away somehow, whatever, right? Uh-huh. We pull our energy back. So that's just one example of like in relationship to the business, right? Another example is, let's say we go to one of those live events where somebody's offering a $10,000 offer to be mentored with you. And then you are all excited and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And you make the investment for $10,000 and you go home and you get home and you never even open up the emails because you've pulled all your energy back. You've withdrawn. Okay. So, withdrawal, that wards off wealth. We got to stay wholeheartedly engaged. We've got to stay right in the forward momentum of whatever it is that we've decided that we want to create.
Absolutely. I can totally see that. Yeah.
So those are the 5 ways.
Those are the 5 ways we ward off wealth. Great. That is absolutely great. So what can we do then to welcome wealth in instead of those ways we ward them off? We ward wealth off. Well,
I have actually created a quiz called the Wealth Readiness Quiz.
Okay.
And what that does is it actually measures your readiness for wealth.
Okay.
And so the first step would be to take the quiz. So you can find the quiz at quiz.wealthylifementor.com, quiz.wealthylifementor.com. And then from there, we want to start to engage the 5 ways that we welcome wealth. And that's, the kind of the first little step I take people through is how to welcome wealth and the 5 ways that we can welcome wealth, which are kind of antidotes to each of the 5 ways that we ward off wealth. So I would start with the quiz. Go to quiz.wealthylifemethod.com. Wealthy Life Method, quiz.wealthylifemethod, mentor. quiz.wealthylifementor.com. I'll make sure that I give you the right link.
Okay.
Quiz.wealthylifementor.com. Quiz.wealthylifementor.com. Yeah. And find out what your wealth readiness score is, because just having awareness is the first step.
Sure.
Having awareness is always the first step. So that quiz is really quick. You can take it in like under 5 minutes, maybe under 3 minutes, and it will give you your score. It will tell you exactly, specifically, and precisely what your score is and where you're at on the kind of scale of wealth readiness. And then from there, if it's of service to you, we can have a conversation, and all of that information is available at the end of the quiz process. If it's a fit for you to have a conversation with me to see if being involved with me and having me be your wealthy life mentor is a good idea, then we'll have that conversation and see where we go from there.
Awesome. I love that. So you've got a quiz that we can take. That is so super,
Yeah.
So you've done I love how you've outlined everything, Emerald. You have those 5 ways we ward off wealth. I know that you're helping people on a very deep level with releasing any ancestral blocks so that they can then succeed in their businesses, in their life, and create the wealth that they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because and like you said, it's not just money wealth. It's all wealth.
Exactly.
Wealth is. What's your definition of wealth? I just want to.
It's the full measure of all of the resources that we have available to us. And there's somebody outside mowing the lawn right now. Sorry about that. So it's the full measure of all of the resources that we have available to us. And again, comes back to what we started with. It's the word thief, and it's the areas where we steal from ourselves. So time, health, your intuition, intellect, imagination, that's the I. Energy exchange, which is money, the money piece, and then fun with our family, friends, and fellow colleagues on the path. And I had so much fun with you today, Louise.
Yeah.
I love that you are a fellow colleague on the path, and I'm so grateful for all the work that we've done together. I've, definitely received from you, and I want to say thank you for that.
You're
I'm just
welcome.
really, really grateful for the work that you and I did together to help me to become even more aligned myself. And so, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And gratitude for me is also, I believe gratitude's the currency of the universe.
Mhm.
And currency is gratitude in action.
I was just going to ask you for your one big tip to leave us with. That sounds like it's it.
That's it.
That gratitude. That's awesome.
Oh.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing, your wisdom with us. The Wealthy Life Mentor, Emerald Green Forest. Definitely check her out. Definitely take that quiz. Find out where you land, with your wealth score, so you can reach out and get some help to move some energy. If you need to move some energy right now, especially now, such a great time to work on ourselves.
Totally.
Such a great time to work on ourselves.
Yeah. The coronavirus created sacred space for us to work on ourselves.
It did. There's so many blessings here. I love the blessings of this time and what it's been able to do for so many people. If we can look at it that way,
yes,
we need to be looking at it that way. Absolutely. Well, you're shining in the world. Thank you so much for the work that you do and for being here. And again, we just invite you to keep tuning in to our shows here at Brain Soul Success. And we wish you well. Thank you so much, Emerald.
Thank you so much for having me, Louise.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.